And yep, we are live. So, you got the invite?
No, not yet.
Okay, you got it now?
Let me check my messages.
Well, don't worry. In the meantime, everyone, hello everybody, it's me, Dolphin V. Or, sorry, let me do that again. Hello, Philadelphia, it's me, V, with Papa G. And this cute little kitten in the mug. I mean, come on, look at it. How could you hate that? Usually I say with an ugly mug, but it's so cute. How could anyone hate this?
You sent me one more request. I think I'll get it this time. I don't know why I didn't get it the other times.
There. See? Yeah. And... look at that. Oh no, it's just me seeing things. The cat here looked a bit green. And that's and I'm not entirely sure when I got this exactly. What is it with the panda topper? That's a really awkward combination, that. But anyway, yes, we are back again. Want to discuss any more new information we've heard? But I suppose Kathleen Kennedy, her recent controversial hire, also more about The Last of Us 2, what goes on at Naughty Dog.
Can you send me another request first?
Our technology not working, we can give that one as well. And also about the recent story I wrote for Papa G.
Yeah.
So yes, for those wondering, I actually did write a mansplaining story. Well, it was more of an outline, I suppose, than a story, but it was a short story. I didn't want it to be multiple chapters.
Yeah.
Yeah. If reviewed, I can actually make a full story on such a thing and then post it somewhere. And on that, I can also get the trap story written as well. So I'm sure Papa G will, of course, review it for us right here on this live stream once he actually gets in.
Yes, I will once I get the request. For some reason, not receiving.
Papa G, let's invite to the party. Okay, Papa G, online. Okay, you've been invited. Okay, how about you launch into Rocket League and then invite me?
Okay, I'll try. Let me see. Where's the Rocket League icon? Move Discord. Okay, what am I doing? There's Rocket League. Ba 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 ba. Okay, now how do I invite you again?
Invite players. That should be near the bottom of the screen.
Let me see. I see. Press item. Play and then. I don't see that. Oh, here we go. I think I might see it. Here we go. I just sent you something.
Yeah.
Did you receive it?
Yeah, something. Oh, let me try it this way. Okay, did you get that one?
Yeah, I got it.
There we go. There you are. I mean, look at his top, everyone. It's a lie.
Yes.
Shameless joke.
Make that every. Make that every stream, then I'm gonna have to change it eventually.
Was that a lie, Papa G?
No, it's not, and it's not. Oh, it's also not funny.
You say that, yet you keep it on.
Keep it on because I think the fact that there's a cake on it is funny. I don't find
Yeah.
it in itself funny.
Yeah, I guess I'm the guy who keeps a kitty in a mug on top of his car. I don't know why, but that's just funny for some reason. Wow. I don't normally score that quickly.
Yeah, me neither. So, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. What do you want to talk about first?
You choose the topic first. We'll just go from there.
I guess if you want to talk more about The Last of Us 2, I'd be up for that because I think there have been people that came out and said that crunch is a problem at the studio.
Yeah. As I would expect it just about any game studio, especially one as big as Naughty Dog.
From what I've heard, it's like particularly bad though. Like they've said,
Mm-hmm.
supposedly it's unsustainable. Sorry about that.
Mm. Particularly bad. So if you were the guy in charge of Naughty Dog, then let's try this. What exactly would you do about the crunch problem? Without trying to affect the quality of your games, how would you
Well,
do
it's
it?
not like I'm just saying well, first thing I'd probably focus on our toxic issue problem and their other problems
Mm-hmm.
first, and then like
No,
I
no. I
don't
mean,
know.
I have to ask. I mean, it's not enough for us to just talk about, oh, this game company's toxic, it sucks, boo hoo. Let's actually try and come up with some ways. Like, how. What are some ways we probably could solve it, even if they're not that good? We're at least trying. Think of it that way. We're a podcast that
There's
tries to
several.
help people.
Well, like first thing I would do is ask several questions. Why is there toxicity at a studio? Is there a particular source? Are there particular people that are causing the source? Are these particular people really talented? And if there are, is there a way to talk to them and like maybe say, hey, can you be less toxic? You're causing discord. And if they're not talented and they're not down, then if they're not talented and they're causing friction, then the obvious answer would be just fire them. But like they're like talented, valuable members, and the
Mm.
question would be like, how do we address this? Like, do
Well,
we talk
so
to
they're
them?
C-type employees then.
What do I mean by C-type?
Well, I got you. First, before I said that, there was an announcement I should have made it be in the stream, and that is we're going to be doing all the live streams on a secondary channel of mine called Dolphin V Reviews, just to stop my main channel just being overloaded with live streams.
That's
So
fair.
I'll upload edited clips of this podcast to there later. Though mainly I'm using that channel for gameplay from now on.
That's fair.
Okay, now anyway, back to what I was saying. This thing I've gotten from other business people is that there's tends to be four kinds of employees. There's the A employees, the B employees, the C employees, and the D employees. Now the A employees is well, the letter kind of suggests they're the star players. You want those.
Yeah.
They believe in your vision and they're incredibly skilled. Now the B players, they are really on board with your vision. They're just not that skilled, so they need help. They need training. And then the C players, okay, they're incredibly skilled, but they are very toxic to the culture.
And like it also another
Yeah.
thing to bring up, I should say, is
And then you got the D players, which just need to be terminated.
and then like well the thing is what I would say is like for example like what if it's the CEO of the company that's toxic like I would say like I know toxic is an overused word and whatnot but I think it does apply for Naughty Dog's case and also applies in this guy's example like for example I would say the CEO of what's it called
I think it's the vice
Gearbox.
president of Naughty Dog. He said, yeah, if you're this, that, the other, he did the whole SJW, don't buy our game.
No, no, I know, but like I'm also talking about someone else for a second to lead into an example. Like, do you know Randy Pitchford?
The CEO of Gearbox?
Yeah. Like I don't know if you know, but from what I've heard of him, he's quite the toxic person. Have you heard much about him, or should I fill you in?
I think you told me before, but it's been a while, so let's give me a refresher.
I'll give you a few of the things that he's done. Like one thing, really supposedly he's done. One thing he did was apparently he underplayed employees with the promise that hey, once this game sells a certain amount, you'll get in on the profits. And like some people made plans around those bonuses and whatnot until suddenly a week before they were supposed to receive the bonuses, he just said, "JK, lol, I'm not giving you it." Not exactly like that, but basically that yeah, we're not doing that. Never mind. Like a week before they were supposed to get it.
Yeah.
As one example, and another example is that supposedly he had the falling out with the voice actor of Claptrap, where like he was asking for something or whatnot, and like his response was to punch him in the face and whatnot.
Oh.
Why did it say? Never mind. And what else has he done? Like a whole list of things he's done.
Mm.
During like Aliens Colonial, you remember Aliens Colonial Marines?
I try not to.
Like he was sort of like the face of, like he did like he wasn't the only one, but he was one of the guys who did a lot of the lying and whatnot, or over exaggerating and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a lot of things he's done that's just like kind of toxic and just kind of immoral and just dickish.
Yeah.
But I think you get the basic ideas of like why he's a dick and whatnot.
Yeah. Serious
Like,
C-type employee.
well, that's the thing. You easily say that, but like the thing is, he's the CEO. He's the
But
big boss.
it doesn't matter.
not-
That's even more reason for the shareholders to get rid of him.
Yeah. But like, if you're a regular employee, it's kind of hard for you to go, "Hey, let's fire this guy when he's the big boss." Like making decisions.
Well, and that's often the thing you see with C-type employees. They do tend to be big, important people in the company
Same
that
with,
you
like,
think, oh, the company just could not run without them. No, it can. And it
the
will.
same with
In fact, the more
same
powerful they are, the more urgently you need to get rid of them. Bad leaders, as we've seen with Kathleen Kennedy, they sink Titanic ships.
And I'm surprised Gearbox hasn't been synced with like the bad decisions and scummy behavior that what's his fucking name again? I can't even be bothered to remember his name. The Gearbox CEO. I forgot his name. I'll remember him later. But like that's a really dick thing to just suddenly like not give promised bonuses like a week before they're supposed to receive them. Like, what kind of dick do you have to be to do that?
Serious one, and one that could probably result in a lawsuit.
Yeah. Oh yeah, another. That reminds me. Two more dickish things he did. This doesn't have to do with him as an employer, but just sort of a dick thing in general. Apparently, at one point he posted a video on Twitter of a cat being like attacked by a crab or something, and it didn't take long till he deleted it. But apparently his reasoning was that I just wanted to see how people would react to it. It was like a social experiment and whatnot. So I'm like, what the fuck?
One doesn't really have to see how people react to that. They're not going to like it.
Yeah. Did you really have to test it to see that if people would really be pissed that you posted a video of that? And supposedly he's used some of his own studio's hard drives for like his own personal pornography or whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Such a charming fellow.
Yeah.
All the more reason to get rid of him.
Yeah. And like to bring it back to Naughty Dog, the same thing could go for Neil Druckmann, where let's say Neil Druckmann is the source of the toxicity. I don't know if he is a source or if he's a major contributor or if he's just one factor, but let's say for the moment he is. He's a vice president, so how would you go about getting rid of that source when he's like one of the leaders?
Well, at the moment, we probably wouldn't have to. I'd say just let The Last of Us 2 fail miserably. As it will, it has all the signs of a property that's now going to tank horribly in sales. And let the shareholders do their work.
Is it though? I could have sworn it's still #1 on Amazon.
Yeah, for now. I mean, this doesn't happen overnight. It takes a bit of time for this to really spread.
Well, like, I will say,
Remember,
like,
this isn't a game that was bad from day one. It was a game that people, oh yeah, they were hyped for, and then this news came out. And it's only very recently it's come out. People are going to take a while to be affected.
Yeah. I will say, I might have to ask my dad about this, because he sort of runs a small doctor's office, and he's had to deal with toxic employees in the past that were, like, bad for the team.
Mm-hmm.
He actually had to deal with one recently who would just, like, come in when they felt like it, and wouldn't come in on days where they're supposed. They would just come in and out whenever they wanted to.
Ooh.
And like obviously you can't have that person on the team and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, he didn't fire them. He's just like not going to ask them to come in anymore and whatnot. Which may seem like a dickish thing during the coronavirus, but hey, should have actually done their job.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess like the question would be like it's easy to say let's just like also fire people. Another thing they'd have to do is like I would say we'd have to have a company meeting and whatnot. And
A restructuring.
Say, okay, maybe not necessarily a restructuring, but like
well, you would have in order to really get most of the toxicity out there. You'd have to get rid of quite a lot of people. and talk about how
Like,
we're going to replace them and have a lot of reshuffling of roles.
not only that, I'd
So
also
no,
say they
I mean,
should have
firing
some.
is the first step of a very complicated process. I never
Yeah,
said it'd be
and like I
easy.
think another thing that they should do is that they should have a meeting saying, okay, how did we get here, and how do we avoid not to get here again? You know?
Yeah. How do we avoid becoming the next Marvel? Marvel Comics, why did you let this happen? You've heard all the shit's happened to them recently.
Yeah, I don't keep deeply up to date with it, but I've heard a few things here or there. They're asking, yes, I've heard of like the Snowflake and
Safe
Safe
Space.
Space characters.
Written by Daniel Kibblesmith. He looks exactly as you'd expect. And he's also responsible for writing a story called Santa's Husband.
Okay.
Yep,
Well,
he's
thank
about everything you'd expect. Because that's
sounds
totally
like
what we
a
want.
gay porno.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure, like, I don't know. One YouTuber I found put it very well. Is that like I'm sure in certain ways, The Last of Us 2 will be very polished in some ways, like in terms of graphics and whatnot. Better be pretty bug free, other stuff. But like the story, and that's where the biggest question, and like the atmosphere of the company going forward, that's going to be the thing that could potentially really damage things going forward.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like not just the story, but like you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, I'm worried. Like right now, this is more of just like I feel like this is just like all this talk that we're saying and they're doing is just sort of like pre-show stuff, like the actual show and drama and what is going to happen next. I think I'll be able to predict much more post Last of Us releases.
Mm-hmm.
Once I see, okay, how is it received? How, like by fans and critics? How, like, do people actually like this, or is it just us people with quote unquote good taste or smarter? Does it seem? Did it sell well? Does it seem like Naughty Dog wants to address stuff? You know, and like I feel like we'll be able to answer those questions after The Last of Us 2 releases. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And the
Yeah.
reason why I say will people actually like it or not, because it's like there's always going to be the Sony fanboys who will defend anything, you know.
Yeah, but keep in mind, Ghostbusters 2016 was also a Sony property. So even
Yeah,
the most diehard fans usually aren't enough. And even of
well,
the fanboys, there'll be those who are like, yeah, I like Sony, but this, well, it's not terrible. Like, even if they don't say it, people can just tell from what they say.
you never know. It seems like I think in the movie department, people pretty much almost universally hate on Sony, but in the games department, they're like rabid fanboys and whatnot.
Not entirely. I
Seems
mean,
like
there is some Sony properties are good. Enter the
there are.
Spider-Verse.
Yeah, obviously. What I'm saying is, and like I'm not. What I'm saying is, a lot of people the level of fanboyism there is for PlayStation isn't as prominent in like Sony's movie division, where I feel like people are more fair to them, where in the gaming division people are kind of more fanboy or defensive and whatnot in it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yet even so, there's only so far they can go.
Either way, it probably was a smart decision the more I think about it for whoever leaked it to leak it, because I feel like this way the toxic atmosphere of the company and whatnot can be discussed more seriously and more openly
Mm-hmm.
than would otherwise.
And supposedly it was over due to pay disputes upon leaving.
Supposedly.
That's what we're starting to learn now, but it with all things we're learning about Naughty Dog at the moment, it could have been just about anything.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact they have to write these really, really harsh NDAs after leaving, and the fact that the vice president is pretty much an outspoken SJW at this point,
Yeah.
and with how much of a highly toxic environment it was to work in,
Yeah.
just free speech wise, what we're now learning. Oh, that asshole.
And I think I read somewhere that supposedly he used some of Anita Sarkeesian's videos, which doesn't surprise
Oh
me.
yeah.
I know he publicly endorsed her or whatnot.
Ain't that a shocker? You can tell a lot about a man by the people he worships.
Yeah, it's like,
In fact,
yeah, it's
as
just
I
that,
think Stefan Molyneux, your favorite YouTuber, put it better. You become what you worship. Which kind of makes you wonder what I'd become based on what I worship, but that's a discussion for another video. Remember, you become what you worship. If you find someone who worships Anita Sarkeesian, get the hell away from them damn fast. Oh, God, it's you, Papa G. You're the asshole who blocked me. You're on a different team now. Anyway.
to do that. But I guess, like, going forward, it's just, I don't know, I think they need to take a look at themselves and say, is this really profitable? Is this really good for our company, our image, and whatnot? And that's not even talking about, like, the questionable story. That's a whole nother,
Yeah.
like,
Well, I'd say when it bombs, and I'm pretty sure it will, it's shown all the signs so far that it's gonna bomb, and since the vice president is now endorsing Sarkeesian, it's very unlikely to change anytime soon.
well, he isn't just advocating her now. He's been, like, advocating her for years.
Well, yeah, but even when he was having for years, it was all the SJW crap, as we discussed last time, it was at least subtle enough that in the grand scheme of things, you could ignore it and enjoy the whole experience. But now it's grown like an inoperable cancer and taken over the whole freaking game. It's a lot harder to ignore when it's that prominent.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, and I wonder why can't, if you're gonna run a SJW game, fine, at least try to make it good. I mean, make the characters at the very least characters, or try to make Ellie at least somewhat attractive. I mean, hell, the asshole propaganda girl from Final Fantasy VII Remake is harder than Ellie is at this point.
I understand why people are comparing Ellie to her. Like, they're like two weird characters, so, I mean, two completely different characters, I should say.
Well, the whole point is, this is a Western female main character, this is a Japanese side character. One is allowed to look good, the other one isn't.
Well, it's a zombie apocalypse. It's not like they have shampoo at the ready.
They're living in a... They're living in a damn compound that's at least trying to make civilization good again.
Yeah, it doesn't mean they can... doesn't mean, like, you're not gonna look a little dirty and grimy.
I'm fine with that. They put more effort into it, though. They don't have to go above and beyond to make the women ugly. I mean, hell, Tess, I mean, she was a looker. Before she got... That's probably why they killed her off, in fact. In fact, even Lara Croft, when she's at her worst, she still looks good. That's why there's so much death porn about her that other YouTubers like to fap to for some reason.
And I feel bad that I'm saying potential bad story instead of flat out bad story. I should be saying bad story because, like, I don't think Naughty Dog can pull a story like this off, but, like, I always feel like it's fair to give the benefit of the doubt when I haven't seen something and then just read, like, basic plot notes.
Well, normally, but there are signs that you can listen to that, yeah, something's gonna suck.
Well, it's like, to be fair, like, this recently, I've been wrong before. Like, when I first read about Final Fantasy VII's ending, I thought, well, this sounds silly. Or not, but, like...
Which Final Fantasy VII?
The remake and whatnot. First, I thought, this sounds silly. Why are they changing this and whatnot? It sounds like they're alienating...
Well, it wouldn't... The story just wouldn't be as impactful if all they did was tell the same story again.
Yeah. Well, like, after you described it, it made more sense, and it sounded better. And but I'm just saying, when I first read it, my first impression was that. So, like, my first impressions can't be wrong.
When I actually told you my theory about the original Final Fantasy VII ending, how the game never happened, it was all Aerith's vision. And this game is what's really happening. How did you feel on that?
It's an interesting theory. I personally don't want to subscribe to it because I feel like by just saying that means nothing that happened in that classic game actually matters. But, like, it's an interesting theory, and it's not a bad one. I personally choose to believe.
Well, after looking through it again, I wouldn't say it never happened, but rather that's a possible future that Aerith saw. I mean, that's how, again, in the remake, she meets Cloud, she just almost instantly knows that he's a mercenary, even though by that point in time she should not know that. And in fact, Cloud even asked her about that. I was like, really? How'd you know that? And she nervously says, it was the sword. And she bemoans not being willing to put herself forward enough. It's like, that's not what I know about you. That's Cloud doing that.
Yeah. That's
And
pretty
also,
good.
in one of the final boss fights, 3 of the monsters you fight one monster that uses their fists, another monster that uses guns, and another monster that uses swords. And they're entities from a future that want to preserve the timeline. So,
Yeah.
3 big guesses who they are.
Yeah, that is a good point.
So I would say that game did happen. It's a possible future that Aerith of the remake timeline saw. And she's like, fuck that.
Yeah.
I
think
die and Sephiroth still lives. He's not gone for good. The planet is fucked at the end. And Dirge of Cerberus happens. Hell no, I'm not letting that timeline happen. And here are the whispers of fate here to say, no, that timeline is happening. This is what the fan base, the planet wants. They want to stay the same.
I think that's a much better theory than saying it just didn't happen, just because I've never been a big fan of It's a Dream or It Was a Vision reveals, save for a few exceptions, so I think that sounds like a much better
And now that's how else
one.
would you explain the ending of the original Final Fantasy VII?
I would explain it as more so like being left ambiguous as to whether or not they succeeded and whatnot. But with at least the idea that, hey, the planet's healing.
Yeah, well, at least it destroyed Dirge of Cerberus. We can always have that.
Yeah.
Oh god, that awful game. The story was let down by some very poor backstory, and the gameplay. Oh god, the gameplay.
Yeah, gameplay sounds pretty bad.
Yeah, what you saw in my review, that's pretty much the game.
I had a feeling.
Yeah. I mean, you can jump. I don't know why, because it doesn't really do anything. But you can jump. You can crouch down, but you don't learn you can do that, and you don't need to for most of the game. There's only one specific section of the game where you actually need to crouch down. Besides that, it's useless.
It reminds me of the give item mechanic in KOTOR 1, where the entire game can give you items. There's only one single time where you actually need to do it. The other 99.9% of the game you can ignore it or gain nothing. Because you have unlimited inventory space, so it's not like you need to store items or anything.
Yeah, even then the music of that game is just not good.
Of KOTOR 1?
No, Dirge of Cerberus.
Oh, okay.
Also, the boss fights, if you even saw that part of the review, were kind of subpar.
Yeah.
Actually, they vary. They go from horrendously unfair to just flat out subpar.
Yeah, I hate games like that. Anyway, I'm trying to think. What else are we gonna talk about? Oh yeah, you wanted to talk about controversial hire Kathleen Kennedy did?
Yeah, Leslie Heard, was it?
Who is she? Like, did she do? I think she did. I might have heard of her. I think she did some sort of Netflix show or something.
Russian Doll.
Russian Doll, that's what it was.
And she was the personal assistant of Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard she was the personal assistant of Harvey Weinstein.
Yes, a woman who comes with a lot of professional baggage. You understand why Disney is very, very upset with the fact that Kathleen Kennedy decided to hire her.
Is Disney upset with that?
Bob Chapek and Bob Iger, yeah, you can bet they're upset at this. Was it you hired the personal assistant of Harvey Weinstein to write an all-female-centric Star Wars when she's all into identity politics and she's a lover of Rian Johnson? The fuck is the matter with you, Kathleen?
He's a lover of Rian Johnson?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, lover of his movie anyway, not the other kind of lover you're thinking about.
TLJ or his other movies?
The Last Jedi.
Of course. I'm trying
And
to think.
they want to make a female-centric Star Wars that is filled to the brim with social justice and modern-day politics and agendas.
My question is, how do we know that Bob Iger is upset with this? Well, like, no, Bob Iger's out, so the new CEO. How do we know the CEO?
Well, no, he's not out of the company. He's on the board of directors still. Bob Chapek is the CEO.
How do we know they're upset still?
There's plenty of people saying how incredibly livid they are from inside leaks in the company. I mean, well, what if you were the CEO of Disney? Wouldn't you be kind of pissed at this? It's like a woman who you want to get rid of, who's done nothing but bad for one of the companies you own, and then she pulls something like this. She hires a really controversial woman with baggage to write a TV show that you do not want produced because you know it will fail and lose money. I was like, how would you fail as a CEO if that happened?
Well, if I was Disney CEO, I'd probably just be too busy swimming in my money pool to really think about anything. And I'd just be like, yeah, you guys do, you do that. Let me continue swimming in my money pool. But if I was a CEO of any other company, then yes, I'd understand.
Papa G, be a bit more serious. That's not what Disney CEOs are like.
I know. I like to imagine. Imagination is a fun thing.
No. I mean, that's like thinking the CEO of Apple does nothing but swim around in this gold pile all day. That's not how it works.
My question is that what if these leaks are wrong? What I'm worried about is what if these leaks are wrong and they're full in on Kathleen Kennedy. That's what I'm more worried about. Like, I hope it's true that they're against Kathleen Kennedy because I don't think she's done a good job as Lucasfilm's president. But what if they're for Kathleen Kennedy and these rumors are bullshit?
Well, either way, I guess it would be good just to have her gone finally because her contract's going to expire soon and she's not going to be renewed.
Hopefully not.
It's like, even if they had to put up a Boone in charge of Lucasfilms, they're not going to rehire her. She's done too much damage to the Star Wars brand.
Star Warrior. What else did I say? Oh yeah. Speaking of which, did you see the dumb tweet that Disney put out recently?
The one where they own all Star Wars tweets, was that it?
From May 4th. That was pretty silly, wasn't it?
Well, it's no more sillier than Sony trying to trademark Let's Play.
Yeah, I guess so. That was also a very silly thing. One thing on May the 4th, on Star Wars Day, I'm gonna recommend a bunch of good Star Wars stuff in these troubled times. So, because, like, I love Star Wars, always have, probably always will, but I can recognize that, like, Star Wars is not in good hands right now, or, like, for the most part, not. But to celebrate my love of Star Wars, I'm gonna recommend some good things from Star Wars on May the 4th.
Yeah. Like?
Well, obviously, I'm gonna say the KOTOR games. Probably recommend some of the Jedi Academy games.
I suppose Force Unleashed, that too.
Yeah,
the original trilogy.
Yeah, what else? There's at least one other one. I might recommend,
Fallen Order?
I haven't played Fallen Order yet, but I might recommend that. I'll probably recommend, what is it called? I forgot what it's called. Oh yeah, the 2D and 3D Clone Wars cartoon. And, who knows, maybe I'll recommend some fan films. Depending on how I'm feeling.
Well, now I think the sequel to the Vader fan film is going to be coming out this November. I'd like to see that one.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, that was a good movie. Supposedly it's upset that I'm more excited for the sequel to a fan film than I am for legit Disney Star Wars at this point. Shows how far it's fallen.
Yeah, well, you know, sometimes I've been excited for more fan projects than official things, so it isn't necessarily new.
Yeah. Also, apparently, Rey Skywalker, they're gonna try and do something new with her.
What do you mean?
Well, they're gonna try and make her an actual Skywalker this time.
In what?
Well, their new movies going forward and basically try to make it so the Kathleen Kennedy Rey never happened.
Well, I don't think if that is happening. I don't think Daisy Ridley's gonna be involved because I'm pretty certain all the main actors.
Well, I don't blame them. I mean,
Pretty certain, like.
I actually feel really sorry for all the actors of Disney Star Wars. I mean, they thought, oh god, we're gonna join the iconic people who worked on Star Wars, and then they saw the script. They thought, fuck. Oh god, now we're contract bound. We've got to act in this crap.
Well, they were still probably made loads of money, and it probably helped their careers a tiny bit. Getting their names out there.
Yeah, but also probably turned into that one role. It's like, yeah, I once did that one role. Let's just not talk about it again. As in, I'm sure every actor has at least one movie like that they'd rather nobody know about.
Yeah, I'm sure. So, trying to think. What else? Is there anything else you wanted to talk about? That you can think of that you wanted to talk about going into this podcast?
Well, you could review my story.
All right. I guess it's an interesting start so far, and I couldn't help but laugh a little because it feels like, were you trying to make it a little bit cringy? Because like it feels a little bit cringy in the
At
way.
what part?
Just when like the woman describing like, what is this word? Mansplaining. Thought it was like a little overdramatic.
Well, if you don't spend a lot of time on the internet, you probably wouldn't know what it is.
Fair enough.
I mean, that wasn't intentional. If it came off that way, though, I'll fix it.
It could be just being overly critical, but like it's pretty interesting so far. Not bad.
Well, there you go. You can actually make a story like that interesting. Learn from that, SJWs.
I think it needs a little more tweaking and whatnot.
Well, of course it does. It's a rough draft.
Yeah.
That's why you're reviewing it.
Yeah, like
I mean, I can
so far,
write the whole thing, and I can give you the outline for the trap story as well later.
looking forward to that.
So, to get to the bottom of it, why is it that even though this story, it's more of a kind of an outline concept than a story at this point, but it's actually interesting, despite the fact it's about a cringy topic. But why? Why is it my story is so interesting when every other one like that will turn people off? Can you try and guess why, Papa G?
Why? Because SJWs are bad at writing?
That could be it, but there's something more fundamental to the character I wrote than that. Can you guess what it is?
Your character's a character, not just trying to spread a message?
Yes, she has faults. She's not the innocent little victim and everything. She has flaws too, that she has to overcome. And in many ways, she can end up doing just as bad as the boss. And directing anger where it does not belong, and she has to learn to change.
Okay.
I mean, can you imagine that ever being an SJW story? I can't.
Probably not.
In fact, if they were to write a story about either racism or bigotry, they portray the racists just these irredeemable monsters, and not even try to get into why people might be this way.
Yeah.
And if there is a way to come to terms.
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest offender I can think of that would be Black. If you've never heard of that, I wouldn't be surprised. It's a really unknown comic book series.
What is it about?
It's basically Black Lives Matter has sex with the X-Men inside the Matrix.
Okay,
And produces that horrendous thing.
So it's bad, or...
Oh yeah, it's bad.
Then why do you say it's mixed with the Matrix and the X-Men?
But it's kind of weird to explain. I'll have to send you some of the videos on it for you to get it. Basically, every single white person is racist. And I do mean every one. There is not one single redeemable white person in the whole book. And there's not even a good reason for why they are that way. They are just because they are. So that's an example of evil, racist people being evil and racist for no apparent reason. In fact, even what the bad guys want doesn't make a massive amount of sense in how they're going about it. I was like, surely there's a better and more peaceful way for them to get what they want? Nope, they have to be evil, extreme, insane racists that want to control everybody.
That sounds annoying.
I mean, there's also even more awkward points that don't make sense historically that the video can get into more better than I can. Like, for example, well, if there's a bunch of these black people that have mutant powers, that's one of the premises, by the way, only black people have mutant powers. And they appeared during the time of the African slave trade, which is in the book. How'd the slave trade happen? It only takes, like, one person with Magneto-level powers looking at the ships with their metal cannons and their metal guns and metal swords saying, I don't think so, and the slave trade never happens. And that is never addressed at all. In the book, it's never really addressed either why white people will be terrified of black people with powers when they're pretty much dominant and ruling everyone anyway. Or why they're so obsessed with wanting the secret of these powers. Or why they have to oppress people to get it when they could easily do it another way. It's like, none of it's explained. The white people are just horrendously racist and evil because they are horrendously racist and evil. With no explanation.
Speaking of Magneto, you know Movie Bob, right?
Movie Bob?
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've watched him. What do you do?
Well, not like I found a video of him from 2011 where your thing on Magneto reminded me of this, where he basically was saying Magneto was right, and that if if the X-Men comic was in the real world, he would be on Magneto's side.
Mm-hmm.
And him unironically saying that.
Yeah. So
sorry.
Anyway, that's pretty much black. It's a racist story where every single white person is racist for no reason, and all violence and crimes done by black people are justified. And the only bad black people in the book belong to, and get ready for this, the Homeland Agency of Ulterior Soldiers. House. Yes, they are the House black people that work for the government.
I'm sorry. By House, what are that referencing again? I'm really stupid.
The House slaves. They work for the White House.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
I see.
Yep. Why do they choose to work for the government when every white person is racist? How do they recruit? Don't know. That's never explained. I'll send you more of the videos on that series. There's a lot there. I won't cover that. I'm going to, but there it is.
Sounds very kind of obnoxious.
Yeah, that's the kind of book that SJWs would write, whereas instead of actually trying to get into the characters and why they're like this way. And is there a way that they can be redeemed? That's a story I can't ever see them writing.
Sort of reminds me, in a positive way, about in Final Fantasy X, where like Wakka's kind of racist.
Yeah.
They kind of deal with it in a mature way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. They explain why he is that way.
But it's like
He's not that way just because he's a racist asshole. He's like that way for a reason.
But also, like, the game doesn't pretend, isn't like, it's also like, yeah, it's bad that he's a racist, and like they confront him on it, but like they also bring up points about like why it's understandable for him to be racist in this scenario, and like, near the end of the game, he goes through the character arc where he's like, I guess being a racist is bad, you know?
Yeah. And in the sequel, he names his own child an Albed name.
Ooh. That I didn't know.
Yeah, to show that he's gotten over it. In the main game, once he learns that Yuna's half Albed, it goes a long way into helping him get over it himself.
I just remembered.
So there you go. There's a character arc of redemption. Something, again,
like,
that SJWs would never ever write.
There's a way to say, there's a way to say racism bad in the story while also doing it in a mature way and not just painting the racist guy as black and white evil.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which, I just remembered some funny jokes from a Let's Play I saw forever ago of Final Fantasy X. There was a running joke where they would pretend to mimic Wakka, and like the joke was like they would pretend to be Wakka, but like he'd be like, "Hey, I'm recruiting for the KKK or something," Or
Mhm.
there's one store owner like all proceeds for this go to helping the Al Bhed, and like the joke they said was that Waka sneaks up on you and steals all your money so they can't contribute to the Al Bhed.
Mhm.
There's a running joke of how like Waka constantly blames something or anything for the Al Bhed. It sounds dumb on
Yeah.
paper, but it was funny in the Let's Play.
Well, he does go overboard a bit in the entire game on it.
Yeah,
He at least gets better though.
yeah. He's a cool guy, and like
Mhm.
his arc is pretty interesting.
Yeah. I mean, Japan trying to make a racist character heroic, that's pretty ballsy. Even at the time.
Aren't they one of the most xenophobic countries in the world though? Or at least according to statistics.
Yeah, usually. But then again, most Asian countries are. They just don't really say it. That's
Yeah.
Asian countries in general. They've gotten better. They actually like it when foreigners come along because
Yeah.
foreigners tend to have more money.
Yeah, I just I'm sure it's not overwhelmingly xenophobic. I just remember reading a study somewhere which said
Yeah.
like on average Japan is like the most xenophobic, or at least statistically somewhere.
It's more like they're not gonna care if you're another race. Really. I mean, it's like they'll welcome you if you expect them to be overly sensitive towards you. You got nothing coming, son.
Mm. Interesting. What was I gonna say?
I mean, it was in that some people have even tried to accuse Japan of racism now, which is the way Barrett was portrayed. It was like, he's always been portrayed that way. What are you talking about?
I think he has more to do that have more to do with
No.
I don't know.
I
Like, I
mean,
think
if,
it's more due to the times and whatnot. I really do wonder if they were inspired by Mr. Chi for Barrett's character, because he reminds me a lot of Mr. T.
no, no. I think with Barrett, he seems over the top and fake, and well, yeah, that's the point. He is over the top and fake.
Fake? What do you mean by fake?
When that his whole motive for fighting the war was what happened to his village, and then what happened to Dine. So he took Dine's daughter, and then also took Dine's fight for himself. Took Dine's cause as well.
Well, he didn't do that because he was fake. It's just like he did it to honor him, and because
Yes, and then realizes that was the wrong way to do things near the end.
um yeah
And so
trying to
he does ultimately get better by the end, and reasonably okay by Advent Children.
it is funny to look at some old Japanese anime in the weird way they draw black people. Like sometimes, like not racist, I want to say, but it's like really weird how they draw black people. It's like they never encountered a black person ever.
Well, they probably didn't. I
Like
mean,
there was
most
one
of the
anime.
people I encountered in China had never seen a white guy before.
Still though, pictures
Yeah.
exist.
I mean, no, in fact, when people saw me at the Wuhan Tower, they would take me aside and have photos with me.
Really?
It's like,
That's
yeah,
just
proof. Oh my god, look, a foreigner, a white person. We've heard they exist, but here's one in person. Here's proof we met one.
I had some relatives who were like that, except for a Jewish person, where they were like, "Oh my God, I can't believe I met a New York Jew."
Mm-hmm.
I can't, they didn't mean it in an offensive way. They just literally never met a Jewish person before.
I mean, think about in Asian countries, most people there, they go their whole lives without ever seeing a white person, or even a black person, for that matter.
One funny thing was like I can't remember what anime it was, but there was one anime where they got where like the joke was sort of like there was a cultural confusion because this guy was an American Japanese guy was in America, and he got his finger bit by a crab, and he was holding his middle finger up because it was hurting so much. And this black guy comes up, thinks he's flipping him off, and is like all angry. But the funny thing is, they very clearly casted a white guy and whatnot, because like the big tough barley black guy, but the guy who's voicing him sounds like he's some like petty scrawny white guy. It's like the funniest thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to get it. I'll get it to you.
Mm.
And the voice does not fit to the mouth of the character it's coming out of.
Mm-hmm. Like that, or that was the joke. I don't know.
Guess it could be. Or maybe they figured it's Japan. They don't know what black people sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's interesting when they. It's interesting when Japan uses English in their regular anime.
Or
Like,
English, as they call it.
yeah, English. Normally it sounds bad, but every once in a blue moon they'll like hire someone who's like actually good at, can actually pronounce English properly. And I'm always like impressed. I'm like, wow, they actually went out of the way to get someone who can pronounce English pretty well. And most of the time it's like very funny. Because you can tell like the person voice acting does not know what they're saying and are just reading off a script.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're really not used to pronouncing words that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it almost kind of sounds like, I imagine, what I sound like when speaking high-speed Mandarin. Or what it sounds like when Jim Carrey tries to do Japanese.
Jim Carrey does Japanese.
In the Sonic movie, he goes, "Omoshiroi" at one point.
Interesting.
For no other reason than fan service, I guess. Well, again, that was a bit of a weird movie for Robotnik, but it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never thought I'd see Dr. Robotnik actually dance to music before.
Yeah, I never thought I'd. Well, I knew I'd see that when I saw the trailer, but I never thought I'd see that before I saw the trailer.
Yeah, reading it as a movie, this is him before he goes completely off his rocker. It works.
Yeah. Be interesting to see if there's a sequel, which there probably will be. How insane he gets.
I know.
Or how insane
All I remember is reconnaissance. Come on, that's hilarious. What's the matter with you? Yeah. Spending almost 90 days on a planet with nothing but mushrooms, breathing in God knows how many spores. Those things.
Doesn't he have his own like Wilson thing? Like something with
He carves the likeness of his right-hand man into a rock, Agent Stone. Yeah, he's the guy who offers him a latte with steamed Austrian goat milk.
Huh.
Yeah, so he's literally called Agent Stone. That wasn't a joke.
That is funny.
In fact, they probably called him Agent Stone just for that gag, though.
Probably.
In fact, even more funny is they actually do a scene before all that where Jim Carrey's like, "I'm not going to miss you when you're gone. Humans are stupid and I care little about them." And then when he's alone for 9 days, he carves Agent Stone's likeness into a rock.
That'd be funny. I read somewhere.
And then goes bald and grows a mustache to look more like his game self.
I read somewhere that supposedly. What did I hear? Oh yeah, that supposedly Tails was like much bigger, more involved in the movie and whatnot, but they decided to save him for the sequel.
Yeah, that was a good idea.
Why do you think that?
Well, they didn't just need to make the movie work for fans of the game. They also need to make it work for casual moviegoers. And I think for casual moviegoers, they decided we need to make this first entry as contained and small as possible. Then we can expand and include more of the Sonic characters. Let's not try to shove too much in at once.
Makes sense.
And you can see they really did try to do that. Even when they're making references to all the Sonic games, they try to include them in a way that makes sense to someone who knows nothing about Sonic. Even though I don't know how you can know nothing about Sonic at this point, but that's how they do it. I mean, do you see the Filmento video I sent you on that one?
No, I want to see it.
Well, no. So when they show... At one point, they show Sonic hiding in a ball form, and that's not to say, oh, look, there's the ball form for the video game. It's to set up his ball form for later when he uses it against Robotnik.
Okay.
Yeah, and the red shoes he gets, it's not just, oh, look, it's Sonic's iconic red shoes. No, it's a gift he gets from, I think the Donut Lord's, sorry, I can't resist calling them that, the Donut Lord's niece, to show him that they don't mind he's an alien. It's
Yeah,
supposed to be a heartfelt gift. Other stuff
I
like
really,
that.
I really need to watch that Fomento video because it sounds interesting and it's
Hmm.
on my hit list. You know what? You gave me some to watch. I'm gonna watch that tonight because like, I'm gonna be playing video games soon, and I need to. And sometimes I like listening to
Yeah.
videos in the background. That'd be a perfect
Yeah.
video.
How to make an actual good video game movie, although he does make it clear he hasn't seen Detective Pikachu when at the time of writing.
For some reason I was kicked, even though I wasn't being idle.
And maybe your teammates didn't like you. Anyway, I'll get back into the main menu and we can go to another match. I'm sure there's more to talk about.
Yeah. I'm gonna go to the bathroom briefly and I'll talk more.
Okay, I'll re-invite you. There you are. Oof.
I'm back.
Alright.
I don't know if I've told you this before, but the guy who approved over the original design is an asshole.
You
The
did.
original Sonic. Did I tell you that?
Mm-hmm. It's proof to the studio's credit that they can actually turn that to their advantage. And turn Sonic the Hedgehog into an underdog story that it wasn't supposed to be, but it worked nonetheless.
Yeah.
So we had that problem. Then we also had, well, Jim Carrey's Dr. Robotnik, who thought of that. They also fixed the whole Robotnik and the Eggman thing, which I didn't know how they were going to deal with.
What do you mean? Oh.
Well, is he Dr. Robotnik or is he Dr. Eggman? They fixed that by having Sonic, he just calls everyone in town by food nicknames. So he just calls Robotnik Eggman at one point.
Why was he originally changed from Robotnik to Eggman?
It was localization issue. For Western releases, he was Robotnik. For the East releases, he was Eggman. So eventually, they got so sick of this that they decided, okay, Robotnik is his real name, Eggman is just the villain name.
Okay.
And it's like Otto Octavius is Dr. Octopus, that thing. That might have been where they got the idea from, I don't know.
By the way, this is a little off topic, but speaking of Octavius reminded me of this. I read some, interesting potential leaks for, like the new Spider-Man game, that, Insomniac are developing. And it could be bullshit, but these sound relatively, true. So do you want me to say some of it?
Nah, I'll keep it. I'll find out myself later.
Yeah. I'll say only one thing, just because I think this is interesting, and this isn't spoiling anything. Supposedly, there's gonna be snow in it.
Okay. So Spider-Man's gonna make a snowsuit. That'll be nice.
Oh yeah, and supposedly, like, snow reacts dynamically to, like, each suit a little differently,
Mm-hmm.
supposedly.
I could see that.
Those are the few other things, but like you said, you don't want spoilers, so I'll keep quiet.
But you do. I do respect that. As much as I don't like it.
And to be fair, these leaks could be bullshit. I just wanted to bring them up just because they sound relatively, like, legitimate, you know?
And yeah, the leaks for the Sonic movie early turned to be bullshit. And turned out it was a good movie.
It does seem like to be living in the age of leaks where things are a lot more easier to, like, I remember even up to 3 years ago, things like being leaked were a rarity, and now it feels like every other day, a really big thing that you think be more tight-lipped are just getting leaked willy-nilly.
It only takes one pissed off employee to do it.
Mm. I wonder if The Last of Us will join the trilogy of will join the three horsemen of the subverting expectations apocalypse, like the three horsemen of the apocalypse in regards to.
You mean the Four Horsemen?
Oh yeah, but like for now it's three horsemen because the other two are Game of Thrones season 8 and Last Jedi. Can't think of a third subverting expectations that was like.
If only they could do it in a good way. I doubt they will, though.
Hopefully they do, but I doubt it. Hoping for the best, expecting the worst.
Everything I've heard of The Last of Us so far, it really, really makes me doubt that they're gonna do anything good with it. Actually, I suppose we could add Picard, that Picard show, to the Force Months for Expectations. I definitely did not expect what I got in that show.
Oh, you watched Star Trek Picard? I didn't know that.
Well, watching it, it reminded me of an episode where Picard's artificial heart failed. Q takes him to the afterlife and shows him what his life would have been like had he never been injured, and had to have an artificial heart. And Picard's reaction to it: I can't live as that man, Q. He is devoid of passion, motivation, and imagination. I'd rather die as I am now than live as that. That's what Picard reminded me of. It's not good.
Supposedly it rips off like Mass Effect 3 a lot. Is that true?
Well, if I don't go too deep into it, I don't guess why they always have to go out of their way to flat out disrespect the main character, and he just kind of just accepts it for whatever reason. It's almost like what they did in James Bond with a new trailer. Everyone looks down on him, everyone disrespects him, and when normally he would have smacked people down, he just calmly sits there and wimpily takes it. In fact, even at Starfleet, they do that whole joke where it's been a while since he's been there, so no one knows who he is. And I'm like, the fuck? That doesn't work. This is Jean-Luc Picard. He saved the fucking universe more than Anakin Skywalker has. Or even Luke Skywalker. Everyone should know who he is. This man should be a legend at Starfleet. And yet, we've been reduced to this. And then I had to wonder why it annoyed me so much, and then it was a Critical Drinker. He pointed out if you take away Picard's chateau and change it into Craggy Island, and you turn his wine into green milk, you basically have Luke Skywalker. I was like, oh fuck, it's happened again, hasn't it?
I didn't know you were a fan of Star Trek.
Yeah. There's a lot you don't know about me. Including the fact it's easier for me to do the British accent.
Yeah.
No. The natural one I have being a tad more subdued than the one you saw in the Yuri parable, but still quite sophisticated.
Yeah, it was very, very sophisticated. I was wondering if I was scared to ask because I didn't want to. I was gonna say like nice impression, but I didn't want to say that in case it was your real voice because I didn't want to be like get awkward or whatnot. But it's more natural to use your regular voice, and go ahead and do it.
Yeah, because the whole point is to have a kind of a posh British narrator to do the whole narration thing. I kind of stuck to that.
Sorry.
If you want to sound more sophisticated, that's... Or smarter than you are, just overemphasize the A's, and before you know it, you have class. Much like that. In fact, after doing that for a while, I now understand why British people are usually the villains in Hollywood movies.
Why that?
No, that's the accent that can sound smarter than they actually are. And be taken more seriously, and it's easier to sound sinister when you have a British accent.
Makes sense.
As proof, look at Arden Izunia.
I leveled up.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to go for one more match, or?
Yeah. I mean, but remember, it's Arden Izunia, Chancellor of Niflheim, versus Arden Izunia, Chancellor of Niflheim. No, it's like one just sounds naturally more sinister than the other. And smart.
Zero out of 10 for not
Yeah.
blowing out the candle when it's raining.
Mm-hmm.
Shitty devs, shitty lazy devs.
How dare they? That being said, if you want to sound like a dumb British person, then don't pronounce your H's in any word you say. And make it really obvious that you're not doing it. For an example of that, just watch the thugs at the beginning of the Kingsmen movie. That's more what I'm talking about.
I will.
Mm-hmm. You seen that movie, by the way?
No, I actually have not.
Oh, it's a good movie. You should. Hell, the church fight scene is iconic.
I've seen the church fight scene. That's the only scene I've seen, but it's the church fight scene's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's even all the little details they put into that fight scene that make it really good. Like when the grenade explodes and all of a sudden Harry starts coming to and starts becoming more lucid. It's like aware of what he's doing because it blocks out the music for a while. It's all those little things, they really help bring a movie to life.
It's definitely on my hit list.
Yeah. Just watch the Fomento video first.
I will. On Sonic, you said? On Sonic, or...
Yeah. How to break the video game movie curse. It's like, yes, that movie and Detective Pikachu actually proves it is possible to break it. As for what the sequel is going to be like, who knows? I mean, Tails definitely is going to be in it. I mean, maybe Robotnik will make an android Sonic as well. Maybe. But he'll mainly focus on getting back to Earth.
Supposedly there's a Detective Pikachu sequel in the works, even though I think the ending ended it pretty definitively from what I've heard.
Yeah, even if there's a definitive ending, if there's demand for it, they'll make a sequel. When you think about it, the first Shrek movie had a pretty definitive ending, and they still managed to make a sequel to it, so it's not outside the realm possibility.
Yeah.
I suppose with a Sonic movie, they at least told you flat out, yeah, there is going to be a sequel.
Or at least left it open and whatnot.
And somehow they had Jim Carrey make Robotnik an actual menacing villain in that moment.
Yeah, which I wonder...
Yeah, in fact, that one part where he says, a lesser man would die here. I'll be home by Christmas. Well, that was pretty good.
saw that scene. He sent it to me.
Yeah, and then he starts moving like a robot, making robot noises for some reason.
I guess
Which should ruin the moment, but it actually adds to it somehow. Now looks like we're in the match so far. But looking back, we've won most of our matches for this playthrough. How's that happen?
Yeah, we've won most of these matches. I guess we're just lucky today.
Yeah, we're having a good day.
Very focused. It's very, very fun to play Rocket League and talk.
Mm-hmm. That's why we do it.
Oh yeah, never mind. I told you that already.
Mm.
No, I was gonna mention that the Source engine recently got leaked, source code, but I remember I told you that last episode.
Yeah.
And I've looked up some screenshots, not screenshots, clips of like the newer Pokemon anime, and it's actually that's impressive animation.
Mm-hmm.
Which is like, especially impressive considering like the older series was pretty non-impressive animation-wise.
Yeah.
It was passable, but it wasn't necessarily great. And like the new Pokemon anime has some like really impressive animation moments.
Yeah. Well, technology marches on.
Apparently, I remember this. I found someone was apparently making an abridged series of The Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm. Should be interesting.
Yeah. Guess it makes sense since he probably dubbing it makes it a lot easier with just his mask and whatnot.
They're probably gonna have a lot of fun with Quill.
Yeah. I saw one episode. I think they only have one episode so far, but they actually get a sassy black guy, to voice the Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Okay.
pretty funny.
It's art is art. You can do whatever you want with it.
Well, that's the joke.
You can even make a joke video about climbing a tree.
Yes, you can, and make it go, "Don't hug me, I'm scared." Levels territory.
Well, I don't think it was necessarily that bad, Papa G.
It wasn't, but it was definitely channeling, "Don't hug me, I'm scared."
I mean, come on, you know that. I mean, I'm V, you are G, and we've never heard of anyone called Z.
Yeah. He is certainly not.
Yeah. And plus, that channel, he just does a lot of weird content like that.
Yeah, skimmed through his other stuff.
Yeah, how to ride a bike is another one.
Yeah, I saw that video, but I haven't watched it yet.
Mm-hmm. Damn you, Raja.
Apparently, Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared made a TV series pilot that they're hoping to sell and turn into a TV series.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting.
Yeah, that's why it's taken so long for the next season to come out.
Apparently, bits of the pilots have leaked online, but not the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, it was originally shown at like a film festival or something.
Yeah. That'd be interesting to see more. I mean, the puppets still have more lessons to learn.
Yeah. But good luck to Becky and Joe, the creators of Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. They're certainly talented people, and
Mm-hmm.
if Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared ever becomes a TV series, it would certainly be one interesting TV series to watch.
If they ever need help, I'd be willing to help them out with it. I mean, I
Maybe
helped
help
fund
them.
their original Kickstarter to make the rest of the episodes, so I'd be totally willing to do it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared is very. It's weird. Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared is very weird, but it's also very impressive, like how much talent is clearly on display
Mhm.
in it. Like from puppetry to animation to everything.
Yeah. And just how weird they're willing to go with it.
Yeah.
That's proof you should get weird. I mean, if even the Yuri parable didn't prove that, you should.
It's funny, I think I came across an interview where they described it as the series as like these three guys going on a pirate adventure or whatnot, and I'm like, what the heck are they talking about? I guess to like lure into the false sense of security
Yeah.
and whatnot.
Well, that's what every episode is.
Yeah.
Everything's totally fine, then the singing starts and it progressively gets worse and worse.
Yeah. One sec. Sorry about that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one complaint I
So anyway,
have is
Papa G, there's something we need to agree to.
what's that?
To never be creative again.
I can agree to that. I really like one thing. There's one criticism I do have on it, and this isn't really criticism. This is more of like an inevitability. Is after the first episode, like the surprise is sort of ruined after the first episode. So after the first one, it's like so shocking, but the other ones you're like, okay, how's it gonna get fucked up? You know what I mean? But
I would say that that's how it works. It's kind of like Saw.
yeah.
You know there's going to be a twist ending. It's how is it going to end up? And that's the thing that surprises you. It's not what you expect.
Yeah, the first episode, it's like the surprise is that, oh, it seems kiddie, but it turns really fucked up and gory. But the rest of the episodes are, okay, we know it's gonna turn all fucked up and probably gory, but how is it gonna turn fucked up and gory? Yeah, that was always a surprise.
Well, that's how How to Basic channel works. Have you not heard of that channel?
I've heard of it, yeah.
When you're watching the videos, they're all the same. They all have the exact same structure, but it works. Tell me again.
I also really like how there's sort of a narrative, even though it's like, it's not a strong, it's not exactly a well-explained narrative, but there is sort of a narrative through all 6 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
That picks up more in like around episode 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm. Some of the ways they advertised their Kickstarter was a little overly creepy, but it definitely worked as a way of terrified marketing. It's like, if you don't give us money, we're gonna be killed off.
Yeah, I saw that Kickstarter video.
No, there was one especially really creepy one that they did near the end of their Kickstarter, where essentially it was from the point of view of the terrorist that was gonna blow them all up. He was getting this big manila envelope, and he was sealing organs inside of it, and there were all these distorted screams in the background saying, "We need more money." Text that appeared. That was a really disturbing one.
I don't know if you saw this, but before the final episode aired, they sort of had interviews with all the characters in text form.
Mm.
And I think with the character Roy, who is Yellow Guy's father, he said like that, my little boy has allowed his eyes to become corrupted and will soon them take a trip to Punishment Land. That was very creepy for me.
Well, he was designed to be a creepy character from the beginning.
I love how, like, after he first appears, you can sort of see him in the background, or like if you pause the video, you can see him at certain points.
Yeah.
I love little details like that.
I think one of the best episodes they did was arguably the one that was about love.
Oh yeah, that was my favorite. For me, my favorite episode is the food
because
one.
that's actually more similar to how real life cults recruit people. It's called Love Blasting.
Yeah, that's true. You make a good point.
Yeah.
That's a really good one.
They blast you with love and make more and more creepy and personal requests of you.
My personal favorite episode is the food episode, where the bird is kind of catching on, but they're constantly trying to distract him from
Mhm.
it.
Because your teeth will go
Yeah.
gray.
Yeah. Not entirely sure if what it's trying to say, if it's trying to say anything, but it's very engaging. Don't hug me, I'm scared.
Mhm.
I remember I got to it late to the party, like got to it after all 6 episodes had already aired, but like it was certainly a good series to binge.
Mhm.
Another interesting thing is, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Amazing World of Gumball, but they actually there's like half the episode was done of an episode of the Amazing World of Gumball was done with puppets, and the creators of Don't Hug Me,
Mhm.
I'm Scared actually helped out with that
Well, that's
episode.
good.
And it's very fitting because that was an episode with creepy, scary puppets, so it makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah.
So didn't go quite as dark as Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared did for obvious reasons.
Yeah. Well, anything children related can go pretty dark when you get down to it.
Yeah.
Like, wait, is this show really for kids? Is it really for kids? But looking back, there tends to be quite a lot of adult humor in kid shows. Or at least adult themes that you don't really notice at that age.
Yeah. I wonder if like I said earlier, I know they're at least trying to pitch Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared for an actual full-length TV
Mhm.
show. I wonder if they'll actually get picked up by a network or something.
Well, if not, they could always put in a Kickstarter. I know I'd support them. Lots of people would. They want to see more of it.
Yeah, I would certainly support it.
And the hunger is there for it.
I honestly didn't think there'd be any more Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared after the first 6, because after the 6th one, it seemed like it ended pretty definitively. But I guess if you
Well,
when they're
the very
artists,
first Nier game ended very definitively, and they still made a sequel to that.
that is true.
Yeah, and they're also bringing that to the Switch, I think, and the PC. Well, at least the PC. I don't
Yeah.
know about Switch, but they're bringing it.
Yeah, they're bringing the first Nier
The
to at least
replicant
PC.
version, I think.
Yeah.
The one that has a young Nier, not the old one.
I heard rumors that they might also bring the old Nier. You know, the one with the older man.
Mm-hmm.
But that might have just been rumors. I don't know. It's cool to have some version of Nier on PC.
Yeah. Well, I guess they could, but since it's flat out stated in one of the endings that Nier and Kaine are seriously getting together, it would probably work with the younger one. I mean, the age difference with the older man makes it a little off-putting.
Are the personalities different from the old and young version?
The young version is Yona's brother.
No, I know.
Father,
But
so there is obviously a slight difference there.
well, I'm saying personality-wise, are there any personality differences?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's mainly they're different versions of the same people.
Okay.
So there are some differences between them, but mainly it's the same person at the core.
Is the
Yeah, I
old
mean,
version
all the expanded stuff explains it a lot better than I can.
is the older version more what's the word? More grumpy, and the younger version more peppy?
Yeah. Yeah, depends on how you choose to interpret the differences, really.
Fair enough.
I mean, either way, the dialogue with the main character eating Yona's food is still funny. Yep, she is not a good cook.
Still need to play the first Nier game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if I should.
Yeah.
I own.
In fact, one of the thoughts about her cooking is it smells like the time I pissed on a campfire.
That's quite the description.
No, I guess lethal chefs are just funny in video games. Oh, and Deadly Premonition has gotten a sequel.
Oh yeah, I did hear about that.
That's going to Switch then. So it'll be interesting to see how unlike the trailer the game is.
Yeah. Still need to play the first Deadly Premonition game. I've seen parts of it, and I'm definitely sold on it.
Mm-hmm. Which should be on the Switch by this point, so something to
It
go
is
for.
on the Switch.
Mm-hmm. You must have plenty of good memories of that game, as awkward as it was.
I hear the best way is to play it on easy, because like the gameplay's iffy, but like the story's like very crazy and wacky. But you agree with that, or should I play it on normal?
Well, the only real reason to play it on easy would be the combat. It's kind of awkward to get used to it first. And I think it's kind of like Resident Evil 4's combat system. Just more stiff. But I think you can run past most of the enemies, so it's not too bad.
I find it funny how every time you get a headshot, he says something like awesome, radical, cool, or something like that. When you get a minigun and you get headshots, does he like say a bunch of them in succession? Like awesome, radical, cool, like that, or?
He doesn't really talk too much during the combat sections.
Doesn't he like give a small quip when like he gets the headshot?
Not that I heard.
Oh, maybe I misheard then.
I mean, he might have done in this new version for all I know, but not the one I played. No, but one thing I remember most of that game are some of the endings where the main character goes insane, and that's how you fail. And also the one part we get to play as the raincoat killer, that was quite memorable.
Sounds interesting. I didn't know that was part of the game.
I'm gonna just type into Google Deadly Premonition Raincoat Killer play scene. Or just Deadly Premonition Raincoat Killer Amazing Grace. You'll find it.
Do you want me to end the podcast here, or do you want to keep going?
Yeah, we can go for one more. I'll just find it for you and send it.
Sounds good. I'll go for one more round.
And there we go. And just a warning, out of context, this will make absolutely no sense, and it will probably spoil most of the game for you, but since I know you don't care for that, there you go.
Okay, spoilers. Like later things, spoilers can help make me determine whether I'm interested in the game or not. Like for example, The Last of Us 2 spoilers confirm I probably won't be getting it, or at least not get it till it's dirt cheap.
Then again, I mean, Deadly Premonition, I mean, it is mainly a detective story, and there is one pretty big piece of evidence you get early in the game as to who the real bad guy is. But most people miss it, but you can definitely catch it on the second playthrough. In fact, some people get it right away. It depends. But who knows? You're smarter than most people give you credit for. You'd have probably figured it out anyway. Is that you still there?
Yeah, I'm still there. Sorry,
So,
I was
yeah.
thinking. I like how at the beginning of the game where he talks about Tom and Jerry.
Mm-hmm.
A very funny scene.
In a domestic abuse kind of context, yeah.
Speaking of which, and you see, I just remembered, there's like been a lot of weird Tom and Jerry crossover movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was one for Willy Wonka, there was one for, what is it called? The Wizard of Oz. A whole bunch of other weird ones.
Mm-hmm. Plenty of history with those two.
Yeah.
Especially for characters that almost never speak apart from the movie.
Trying to think.
Hmm?
I'm trying to think of something to say.
We can just say a bunch of nonsense until you come up with something. There's not much
I like
time left on this.
I like the classic Looney Tunes.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up watching the classic Looney Tunes.
That's always good. Okay, it's tough for you. How could I improve my story?
Well, right now it's just in the opening, so I don't know how much I can say.
Well, I pretty much gave
you
you the best outline of it, so, you know.
well,
What
so
could
far
be
it's pretty
filled in?
promising. I guess just what is she gonna do next? Like how does she deal with the issue and whatnot?
I think I pretty much wrote that in, but yeah,
Did you?
I'll make that more clear. I should at least
Maybe
start our own
I'll-
company away from it. So it should be better. But yeah, I'll make that more clear in the finished version. Okay. In fact, maybe I'll find someone on Fiverr that can animate it for me.
That'd be interesting.
In fact, animate most of these crap SJW stories that can be made good. And prove, yes, it is possible to make a good story with SJW themes. You don't have to make them all the same. You can actually make them good. You can make them inspiring, entertaining. Well, even the next story I was going for about that trap being harassed by Christian homophobes, you can actually make it good.
Yeah.
Without trying to paint all Christians as these evil, horrible people.
Yeah.
You know, like The Last of Us is probably going to do.
Probably.
I mean, I would ask why exactly you'd have to pick them out when they don't really do stuff like that anymore. Or why, if you don't think there's any other religion out there that does not have a very long recorded track history of, you know, creating violent radical people that do hate gay people and throw them off roofs. And I figured out why, of course. Yeah, I imagine Social Justice Warriors would probably crucify them if you tried to include that religious minority in there.
I think there's also a couple other reasons. Like one, to take place in America, Christianity is very popular.
Well, there's plenty of Muslims in America. No, I just said them and get demonetized. Damn.
Yeah, but like Christians are sort of an easy target because it's like they can say.
Yeah, and they don't really fight back.
Most of the ones that do, and the few that do are either like snuffed out or they're just sort of crazies.
Just goes back to why is it always innocent people get falsely accused of all these rape crimes because they're easy targets. They're unlikely to fight back. Or countersue when you've failed a lawsuit. I suppose Amber Heard is learning that lesson. Yeah, you don't want to mess with nice people too much.
Yeah.
Okay, so your main thing is make ending more clear, okay?
What?
We'll make ending more clear. That was your suggestion, okay. Is there anything else?
Other than that, I think it's pretty good. I'll obviously read the finished versions to make sure it's. I honestly think it could be a little less stiff in some of the dialogue, but other than that, I think it's pretty good.
Well, there is no dialogue in it, really.
Well, by dialogue I meant like internal monologue.
Mm-hmm.
Or, I
Okay.
guess not really internal monologue either. It's more of like third-person narration.
Mm-hmm. I'll have it mainly take place from her point of view, then.
Mm.
In fact, I could probably switch point of views from every now and then,
Interesting.
which sometimes can happen to give a more broad view of what's going on. It's a problem when you have a story that takes place from one point of view. It's very limiting.
Mm.
I mean, it's hard to try and explain the whole picture when you're only going from the point of view of one person.
Yeah.
And also, when you have multiple points of view, you can make the story longer because you can explain the same event from different perspectives. Do you have a more broad view of what's going on? I mean, that doesn't really work so well in a mystery book where the whole point is to try and hide what's going on, but in this kind of work it could do well.
Anyway, do you think now is a good time to end the podcast, or do you want to go one more round?
Yeah, one more round. I'm getting ideas now.
One more round.
Okay, yes, this is the last one. Definitely the last one.
No, I love doing this. It's just like
I know.
can't do this. I love.
I know. As I was just saying that for the audience effect. Okay, so I've got make ending more clear, multiple POV, because it would make sense this story about people not understanding each other primarily. And let's see what else. There's giving me a lot of days for the other one as well. How to really flesh this out.
If you want, I could give you other writing prompts for other stories.
The cringier the better. It challenges me to make them work.
This isn't cringy. It's just a general idea. Like a horror story that takes place on Halloween.
Yeah, I'm sure no one's done that before.
Yeah, I know. Well, more so never mind. Let me think of a better one. Someone talks to the Roadrunner. Like, an insane main character talks to the Roadrunner.
No, what's a good story we could summarize now? 2 sentences, or one we could expand. Or perhaps I know a place you could probably go for ideas. There's actually a kind of horror story channel that I do sometimes watch called Let's Read, and his most popular video is 2-sentence horror stories.
Interesting.
Yeah. For an example one, my wife shook me awake and said there's an intruder in the house. My wife died 1 year ago to an intruder. Or perhaps the one he starts with, I woke up from a nice dream in the darkness to knocking. And as the knocking grew louder, it drowned out my screams as dirt was piled above the coffin. And even just trying to recite that, I'm already getting chills. And even worse, he had that video, all of them were animated.
What? I'm sorry, you cut off there?
So all the 2-sentence horror stories were animated in that video, so it's extra chilling.
Cool. I know there's a book called Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark that are on average like 1 or 2 pages long at most.
Yeah.
Ooh, I
But anyway, I try to use that as a thing to give myself writing prompt ideas. What's a story I could tell in 2 sentences that then I can leave people hanging, so there's stuff to fill in. I mean, that story I just told you, where it's about a guy getting buried alive.
Oh yeah. I don't want to read that. That's one of my fears. So
It
when I
doesn't
was
happen
little,
that often anymore.
I know, but like when I was, it's like buried alive was one of my fears. It scares me so much because um uh like when I was in elementary school, I saw a trailer for an indie movie that I think Ryan Reynolds or Ryan
Hmm.
Gosling was in,
It was Ryan
where
Reynolds.
oh, you know the movie I'm talking about?
Well, while they were filming that movie, they kept getting delayed because his acting was so good they thought he was really being buried alive. So they kept stopping to dig him out.
Okay. Oh, he was actually underneath in that movie.
Hmm.
Point is, like, I saw a trailer for that movie when I was in elementary school, and that trailer alone scared me so much I had like nightmares. And all it was just a freaking trailer.
Hmm.
Maybe one day I'll watch that movie for real because it
Yeah.
looks like a good.
The video I talked about, I'll send you that one. It can give you some more writing prompt ideas. Is there any more
Cool.
writing prompts you can think of?
A Rocket League movie.
Okay.
That's just
Why not?
being random. It's just like I'm being serious, like a Rocket League thing.
No, I can make that work.
I wonder if Fallout 76 has gotten any better. Probably still bad.
Yeah. I suppose there's another one of those 2 sentence stories I remember.
Yeah.
I always wondered why my cat glared at me, but then I realized he was glaring slightly behind me.
Creepy.
Yeah, the animation makes it even more so. Perhaps there's another exercise for you. Try to think of those shocking stories you can tell in 2 sentences. They tend to help with coming up with writing prompts.
That'd be interesting.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, I just thought of one. So remember this one. I heard my wife singing to the baby from my bedroom. My wife then came into the room, but the singing still continued.
Ooh, creepy.
It's the thing about horror, it catches people, it really invokes strong emotions. That's why we love it so much. Yeah, it's not the jump scares that does it. It's all the stuff that gets left to your imagination.
Yes, exactly. Looks like we have overtime.
Yep. Whereas with stories like the one I'm telling, it's all about explaining the full picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not exactly compatible, but you know, that kind of exercise, it does help come up with writing prompts. So yeah, I'll send you that video as well after we're done here.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting thing to watch, because if you don't want to sleep tonight.
I prefer more. Personally, I prefer more horror that isn't just 2 sentences, but 2 sentence horror can be scary.
Well, it can be exceptionally scary. One, you've got to get incredibly creative with it, because you've only got 2 sentences. And two, that often means you leave it up to the imagination of the listener.
That is true. They won. Good job.
So yeah, you've got quite a few videos to watch after this one.
Yes, I do. Anyway, I'm gonna head out now.
See.
Thanks for the videos.
Actually, there's one more first. So I can get it again. And yep, there you go. There's all 3 of them. Okay, see ya.
Thank you. Have a great night, everyone, and I hope you're staying safe during these troubled times.
Yep, hope you're all doing well. Goodbye, and see you again another time.
See ya, everyone.
Bye.